They found that if you use sauna 1 to 3 times a week, your weekly users, using it a few times, you dropped your all-cause mortality, dying of any cardiovascular event, by 27%. If you do it more than that, 4 to 7 times a week, your daily users, you're dropping your all-cause mortality by 40%.
Welcome back to Case Studies. I'm with my friend Justin Juntunen, who we met because he makes the best saunas in, for sure, the U.S., but, but like competitively all over the world. You know, you guys take a ton of pride in it. Cedar and Stone Sauna is the company, and I met you through Mitch Matthews.
Yeah, Mitch with the catch. You know, if you follow BYU football, you probably remember Mitch. And he came to me 2.5 years ago. He flew up to Duluth. We cold plunged in Lake Superior. Water's always cold there. And we started talking about sauna because he wanted to create a business around it. And so, you know, it's been an honor to get to know you through Mitch. Also to be in Utah a bunch.
How good is Utah?
You know what? I'm like really proud about Minnesota. So I can
go on about Minnesota all the time.
But I have been continually impressed by the culture here, the beauty here, the people who are committed to health, family, connection, business. Like all those are the ingredients that we're actually seeing sauna as a sort of business movement happen right now.
Yeah.
Or as a connection to people who are wanting to be high achievers.
Yep.
And so, it feels great being here. The only thing I haven't done is one of these times I got to get out on the slopes, go skiing.
Got to do it.
And then après sauna after with you.
How
we can go.
Yeah. How good would that be?
Yeah.
So, my buddy, big Southern California fan, lives in Utah, and we were out in Southern California for something. And he was like, if I could live anywhere in the world, it'd be Southern California. He's like, I just love it. I'm like, awesome. He's like, where do you live? I'm like, I live in Utah. Like, I live exactly where I want to live. Like, there's not another place in the world that I'd rather be full time. I love traveling everywhere else, but it's like, as far as home base, it has everything I love. And so it's fun that, you're coming out and experiencing it, because it does. It's got all the seasons and amazing people and cool culture and literally all the stuff we love. Our roots are here. So,
and I feel the same way about Minnesota. So we'll get you out there. We'll be in the northern forest.
We follow. We're like big Cedar and Stone fans. So we, obviously we have the product, and I was telling you before, it's 100% best dollars I've spent 2025 trying to think of any dollars that I've spent that have been better than that ever. And I can't think of anything off the top of my head that like I use every day. It's a complete vibe. And so I want to get into like the science behind it. But for me, it's first thing in the morning, gets my head clear. I'll do breath work in there. That was one that got introduced to me that I'm like, where has this been all my life? This is incredible. Totally. Like I'm on fire. We'll do cold plunge and then at night, like there's nothing better than like to wind down the night without a cell phone. And it's just, it creates like these opportunities to chat and talk. And anyway, we love it. So
yeah, you're tapping into things that most people don't get around sauna yet. They see it in their feed. They've heard it's good for them for their health. And they put it in the box of, hey, it's a new piece of workout equipment. It's the new trend, or it's a new thing. I'm going to do some reps in it. You're talking about it in the cultural components, the mental health components, the family connection moments.
1,000%. Yeah.
And that's the stuff when you say, hey, it's worth every dollar. Those are the things that you literally can't quantify, is deep, meaningful time with your family and your kids, and having real conversations without the distractions of phones.
I mean, it's literally like we're in Houston last night. Yep. My wife's dad was diagnosed with cancer, went through radiation treatment for 3 or 4 months. cancer free. So we go down there, he's ringing the bell. It's a like really awesome experience.
Yeah.
We get home late. It's like 10:30. And I'm like turning it on. I go out there for 15 minutes, sweat, jump in the cold, go to sleep. And I'm like, my head's clear. You know what I mean? Like it's just like I'm craving it. And so what I want to get into is like the science, like what is going on in your body when you're experiencing this? Because it's like I don't know the science, but I experience the benefits of the science. And so I'm fascinated kind of this is your life. Like you're an expert on this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the science is really interesting right now because the science is catching up to the cultural wisdom.
What everybody's known forever.
For generations, right? Humans in different parts of the world have figured out that hot and cold are really good for us. Now we have medical data that has said, here's why. But just to unpeel it one more layer, I don't have this moment where I was growing up where I remember the first time I sauna'd. Because it was literally the second place our family would gather. Second only to the dinner table.
Part of life.
Part of life. There's this old Finnish proverb that is all people are created equal, but nowhere more so than in the sauna. And it's this commitment to like, life's hard, but we all want to be here together. And the Finns are these people from Northern Europe that have superpowers around them and go through really long winters.
Yeah.
Not unlike my home of Minnesota. And now we've got generations of people who have carried that tradition, given it to people like me. And I started saying, you know what? We can do this better. We can do this more beautifully, more sustainably. We can put this into business and people can really sort of move towards this. And the science is hitting that right at this time where it's starting. A lot of it was COVID. People weren't traveling. They were investing in their health, their backyard. And then they started seeing people do cold plunge. And what's happening physiologically in our bodies is that you're getting a light cardio workout. So we know exercise and movement's good for us, right? Sleep's good. Eat your vegetables is good. Exercise is good. Treat your mind right. Those are good. You're getting a light cardio workout whenever you're in there. It's also the laziest way to get a cardio workout. So if anybody's listening who's having a tough time getting on the treadmill or moving, the sauna, you go in and you sit for those 15 minutes.
Get your heart going.
And you bring your heart rate up.
Yeah.
And you bring it up to sort of a level of a light jog usually.
Yeah.
Now, most people quit at that point. They say, oh yeah, I'm going to do my 10 minutes. It's kind of tough. And then I leave. And the practice of sauna, hot, cold, rest, rehydrate, and repeat, it's that cycle, which you said, hey, last night I got home late, but I still did it. I got my hot, went into the cold, rested a little bit. The only thing you maybe didn't do is because you didn't have enough time to go back in and do that second, third round.
But I would.
But you would.
You know
and
what I mean? Like it's not work for me to go.
Totally.
Like it's a complete indulgence.
Yep.
And I think that's the one where I think it probably was over the last like 10 years, I had some friends that were like super hardcore. So they would go in the river in the winter.
Yep.
And it was just about like cold plunging and like the benefits of that.
Yep.
But there was no hot. It was just the cold.
Yep.
And it was painful. Like I never looked forward to the cold. I never craved the cold.
Yeah.
The hot makes me crave the cold.
Yeah.
When I experience the hot and you go to almost like this, like I am at my limits.
Completely.
And then you go experience the cold. That next session for me, I can go so much longer. It's almost as if you break through like this barrier. Mm-hmm. It's so fun. Like
you're tougher than you think you are, right? And it's training resilience in us in these nice steps. And we need resilience in our life in so many ways. Life's hard.
Yeah.
You were talking about being with your wife's father going through cancer treatment, right? To get some training wheels to go through that process through a daily moment in the cold and moment in the heat. And you're right. They start to sound good together. You start to crave them together. And back to kind of the scientific benefits, the big study that came out that really has kind of now moved people towards interest in this, it was done in Finland. They looked at how how sauna impacted people's health over 20 years. They mapped it longitudinally, and they did it for people who used it a lot. In Finland, there are more saunas than there are cars.
Which is incredible.
It's wild. It's like so in the culture there. And what they looked at, and they found, the big headlines are this. They found that if you use sauna 1 to 3 times a week, your weekly users, using it a few times, you dropped your all-cause mortality, dying of any cardiovascular event, by 27%. Wild. You're like adding years to your life.
It's insane.
The crazier stat, the second headline, is if you do it more than that, 4 to 7 times a week, your daily users, you're dropping your all-cause mortality by 40%.
That's incredible. So I think I had heard that stat somewhere because, like, again, it was probably, I had some friends that did it like a decade ago.
Yep.
COVID was when it like completely took off.
Yep.
Specifically around cold plunges.
Mm-hmm.
Businesses being built around it.
Yep.
And I would experience the physical benefits of it. I was sharper, my mental resilience. I think even that experience, I remember listening to a Huberman podcast about cold therapy.
Yeah.
And just how your body creates cortisol that, before you get in, because you're anticipating the pain.
Yes.
Of going in. So your stress hormone kind of cranks up. And that practice of saying, I'm stressed, I don't want to do this, do it anyway, is really beneficial,
Yep.
To be able to act in spite of fear. And so kind of went through that whole thing and, again, really enjoyed it. The sauna thing is so much different and so much more. But when I was looking at the data pre-sauna, and I think this was the one that ultimately like gave me, outside of just loving it, gave me so much conviction to go like invest. It's not an insignificant number. It's like, it's a real investment. Was the decrease in heart attacks.
Yeah.
It was like
Yep.
what you're describing, 30 to 40%, that I'm
Yep.
like, this is insane.
Yep.
Like if you could really like give yourself life for 3, 5, 10, 15 years, and this actually is a catalyst.
Yep.
And I don't know all the things that go into that. I don't know if it's somebody who's not working out and does that gets the benefit. And if you're working out hard, those stats wouldn't be the same or whatever it is. But it was enough that I was like, that's crazy. If that's true, like anybody who's not doing this would be insane because it's years on your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you a story on that. I have 2 grandfathers growing up, and both were entrepreneurs. And so I think I'm following the footsteps of both grandpas right now as we've started this company, but I watched them handle their life really differently. And one grew a big company. He stressed himself out and he worked himself to death. In his early 50s, he had a near fatal heart attack because his life was so wrapped in the stress of the business. Grandpa Bill. And he didn't die. He almost did. He eked out 4 or 5 more years after that.
Yeah.
And then he died before his 60th birthday. My other grandpa has had a sauna in his basement for 55 years. And it's not the only reason he's continued on, but he had heart problems much earlier, and he continued to sauna and stay healthy and move his body regularly.
Wow.
And he's in his 80s now, and he and grandma are still kicking. They still have that sauna in the house. They still use it. And it's this cultural wisdom that now we have literal medical data that shows you, hey, this is impacting your life.
The difference.
And then I have this story of watching 2 grandfathers be truly impacted by the use of that every single day, every single week. And why that sort of back to the medical data, why it's doing that for us is our vascular, like all of our vascular system, as we get older, it's harder for our heart to pump the blood.
Wow.
And our veins and arteries need to stay supple to do that. What you're doing when you get in the sauna is you're opening up all your blood vessels and your capillaries from your fingers to your toes to the big ones in your heart and your chest. When you get in the cold plunge, everything constricts. So it's vasodilation and constriction. And your heart slow. If you're doing it right for the cold plunge, if it's not just like dive in the middle of winter in the river and yell with your buddies, that's all adrenaline. That's like a shot of espresso. When you get in there and you do just that first 30 to 45 seconds of breath and you slow down, do you feel your heart rate start going?
Well, what's crazy to me, and I know that this is the case,
Yep.
but when I'm doing breath work in the sauna,
Mm-hmm.
it's significantly harder.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm trying to slow down my heart, and just the nature of the sauna, it speeds it up.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So like I'm going through like this guided breath work, and I'm fighting to get through like the recommendations on holds.
Yep.
When I'm in the sauna, if I go do it just in a room or in the cold, it's the opposite. The cold, I can go way longer.
Yep.
And it's the cold kind of naturally slows you down and you consume less oxygen.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's fascinating for me to be testing both of those.
Yeah. And I think that's what people are starting to discover right now is, hey, there's all these modalities and health and traditions of how do I do this and what works right for me. And so you mentioned Huberman. I love what Andrew's done. I love that he's kind of brought this to the scene. And my only critique is protocols only work for so many people. They're good training wheels, but they aren't good guides for the long term. And you're doing this thing where, you're getting, you went through some of those training wheels, but you're figuring out what actually is right for you.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you hear, push yourself, go in for 15 minutes at this temperature, and the more you do, the better. And truly, I think wellness shouldn't be overwhelming. Our commitment to our bodies and our health should be easy to say yes to. And if we can set that up, it's more likely for us to do that as opposed to just bear down, do the cold plunge today.
I have like an insanely addictive personality. Like I love gambling, love adrenaline, love, and always have loved kind of those things. And it's really good when you get good habits. Yeah. Because I can be very obsessive over habits and stay consistent with things. And so, your strengths are also your weaknesses. But this is one that like I've become kind of obsessive with it strictly because I'm like, this is delivering happiness.
Yeah.
From early in the morning.
Yeah.
And not just happiness, clarity of mind, clarity of thought. Like when I'm going through like my morning routine and I'm going through goals and I'm going through opportunities and I'm going through those things, there's so much clarity and purpose and certainty that's just different than even those same kind of what you call protocols that I've done in the past where I wake up and roll out of bed and I'm still groggy and trying to get into the mode, drinking some caffeine or whatever it is and trying to get into the mode of like focused and engaged. And I've just never experienced anything like this to get me fully. The difference between like 6 a.m. and the very first thing I'm doing is going to the cold.
Yeah.
You can't not be completely awake.
Well, I'm sorry to tell you, and I'm excited to tell you that your addictive personality has found a thing that is literally dumping dopamine into your brain early in the morning. You're getting addicted to the cold.
Well, it's everything. It's the cold.
Yep.
And then it's the scents. Like you gave me a gift today.
Yeah.
And it was the different scents.
Yeah. The essential oils.
Mm-hmm. But there's something with that too. When you couple the heat with the smells, there's this like brain connection with, I love this. Like I am absolutely like, and then where we put it, there's like a fire pit, you got the mountains. And so you take like this visual stimulation, you take your body sweating and working, and then you take the smells. And I'm like, it is touching everything. It is absolutely checking all the different senses.
Yeah. I mean, if I boil down what you're saying, most people think about sauna in America through one question, and it's how hot is it in that room? And it's because we don't know a lot about sauna as a cultural act or as a human act. You're talking about a really human, sensory thing.
Yep.
If we were to go to Finland, people would not ask, what's the temperature in the sauna? That's what Americans ask. If you go to Finland, you get asked this question: how's the lolu? Lolu is the Finnish word for steam. They ask, how does it feel? It's a qualitative question.
Yeah.
When you go to the steakhouse, you don't ask, how hot did you cook my steak? You say, what cut of meat? I like it cooked this way. What are my side dishes? You're asking quality questions because you know good steak, you know good meat.
Yeah.
And that's the level that we're wanting to get people to, and we're wanting to help them to see and experience that this is more than a workout. It's a human act. It's going to hit all the senses. And oh, by the way, it is one of the best things you can do for your body and the clarity of mind that you want. And your kids might start to love it.
Yeah, my kids, that's been another, like, one of those benefits that we didn't know we were going to see. And so, like, we have our pool, and we got a pool and a hot tub, and, like, that's a highlight for me with my boys.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy. It's like, rip my shirt off, put on some swimsuits, and I'm playing with my kids.
Yep.
And I'm like, you know, any excuse that I have 15 to 30 minutes of, like, actually, like, being there playing, fully present. And the sauna has just been, like, an enhancement to that, where it's just part of the process. It's like, we'll have this cold pool in the summer that we've been using as our cold plunge till we set up the new one. And I'll throw the kids in the cold, and they freak out. They start crying, and then you throw them in, and then they love it, and they're, like, all on fire, but they're super scared of the cold. And we'll do that, and then we'll go over in the sauna, and they're, you know, pouring the water, and they're laughing and getting under the benches where it's cooler. The heat's all rising to the top, and they can't handle that too much. But they'll go lay down on the ground and go under the benches where it's cold, and they're just hanging out and loving it. And that was kind of an unexpected, like, just time. Like, when I think of, like, hey, what are the things I love in life, and what are the things that make me happy, and what are the things that I want more of in life? Mm-hmm. It's like these authentic moments with the people that I love.
Yep.
I'm like, I want more of that. Yep. Consistently. Like, if you were to say fast forward out the next 60 years, what I want less of and what I want more of. I want to find a way to, like, decrease the stress and decrease some of the chaos. You know, if I can limit that down, like, some of that is good, but, like, less of that and more being present, authenticity, time with people, relationships, physical activity, like, all of those ingredients. And that's what it's, you know, capturing for me. And so it really is. It's so fun. And I love that you've found a way to have it be your business. You know what I mean? Because I'm one of, you know, thousands of people you've gone and built them for. But you have this chance to go have, like, this really intimate, special experience. I know you're with Mitch, and you guys have been planning that sauna for
2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's a 50-person.
Now you get to go see it in the physical world.
It's a 50-person commercial sauna. Shout out to Flow House here just outside of Salt Lake. If you're in the area, if you're visiting KC, if you're listening in, check out what they're doing.
So cool.
It's going to be great. I mean, it's really introducing sauna to people at a level that's like, let's go out to eat, let's have an event.
Yep.
And we can do it together. And you're talking about it at home. Also important. And you're a big inviter. You're a gatherer, right? There's people that are always coming over. I'm hearing that from your team. You're going to send the group text out, and people show up.
Yep.
And they're gaining moments with you where it's not just spa, right? Where it's not just, hey, we're in the office, we're grinding, we're doing the hard work. We're also finding moments to decompress together, to de-stress together, to get to the conversation that's underneath, the more vulnerable conversation, the more real conversation. And I think that's what people, if they want to be in business a long time, if they want to have deep relationships for a long time, they make space for that. And tried and true, I watch people make friends in the sauna with strangers within the first 30 minutes of doing those things. I watch people heal their deepest hurts and traumas because they're finally opening up about it.
Wow.
You know, we host people. We run a couple commercial facilities, one at the Four Seasons in Minneapolis, one in Duluth, my hometown, where we have multiple saunas. One's floating on the water.
This is so sick.
Super fun. And we have people book those sessions for so many reasons. It's, the date night, the intimate moment, the big celebration, the gregarious bachelorette party or bachelor party. And we have people booking it every week, becoming a member because they want this as a part of their rhythms in life. And even in the hardest moments, we have people booking those sessions to go process the loss of a loved one.
100%.
And they we're just going to make space for them.
For me, it's like where I go to pray.
Yeah.
Like it, for me, there's not too many spaces where you can go find peace.
Yeah.
And you can get away and it's quiet and it's separated and it's apart. And so for me, it's been like a, spiritual coupling with breath work. I'd never done breath work, really gone after it, and had my friend Doug Cartwright that's like, complete hippie, ayahuasca, he is plant medicine, down that road.
Real alternative.
Yeah. Which for me, I'm like, I love Doug. And so Doug's like, hey, do you want to do breath work? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And I did it. And I'm like, I feel so good right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's like working or not working. Like what is serving me well? And when I do it, I'm like, well, my experiment is that I feel fantastic.
Yep.
I should probably keep doing that. You know what I mean?
Yep. And it helps keeping you, there's some things that feel good for a few minutes.
It's all day.
There's a wild thing about, you mentioned caffeine, right? I love a good coffee in the morning. I love espresso. I love getting it in a good drink. But usually that's a quick fix.
Yep.
The amount of dopamine that gets delivered when you do sauna and cold plunge, it gets kind of sent to you for 4 hours. And so you have this experience not of the big rush, but if I did a thing and now I have this clarity of mind for my whole morning to I've done a hard thing, I've done a good thing for me, I feel really good, and the beginning of my day is already more locked in.
Yeah.
That's the folks that begin to sort of say, I want to order my life like that.
It's incredible.
I want to set my life up so I can do that in a way to achieve the goals, whether they're family goals, personal goals, business goals. That's fun. That's fun getting to help people in those moments to say, how can we, it's really, when you've sent some stuff around you and your kids being in there, I'm like, it's getting used the right way.
Yeah.
It's impacting the Ba family, not just Casey's workout routine.
Yep. No, it's great. So talk to me about your business. Like when did you decide, hey, I'm going to go do this commercially and I'm going to go do this professionally? And talk to me about the highs and lows of the business, that's something that's just like my world is. Yeah. I remember the first time we talked and it was like, hey, what's your revenue? What's your top line? What's your EBITDA number? Kind of, and most of that's just me being curious saying I love the product. I love the experience. What is the business behind it? And so maybe talk to me about some of those things. And I also have some questions on, you guys build such a ridiculously nice product. How does that affect going and doing it for the masses? You know what I mean? Because there's a craftsmanship
totally
to it that's special. Mm-hmm. And I know you guys are artists and you take tremendous pride in building these beautiful things. But then there's the other side of it, which is I think you're booked out for a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's that's the trade-off is I want to go make money. I want to go have a great business, but I also want to build beautiful things that I'm proud of. And
yeah, I'm equal parts, artist and industrialist.
Yeah.
And I think it's truly better to get to scale when you've solved the quality things at the front. It isn't send them out and deal with all the callbacks. It's build it right before you scale.
Yeah.
And so, you asked how'd you get into this? And the origin story for me begins in a couple spots. One is, I've already mentioned I've grown up with this. I built my first sauna with my dad and grandpa when I was
fun is that?
3 years old.
That's crazy.
I'm in our basement. I think the smell of cedar wood locked that memory in my mind of doing that with dad.
Which that's another data point, but how important are smells to memories.
Oh,
like you're
completely.
talking about being 3 years old
Mhm.
and having this core memory of cedar.
Yep.
At 3 years old.
That lines your sound that your kids are going into, and then you're putting essential oils on top to sort of add these things, and they're going to smell that unique wood throughout their life, and they're going to think of dad in the sauna.
So cool.
Right? And so I have that memory. My whole life, every home we lived in, every cabin, I'm from the Midwest, grew up on lakes there. It was not if the sauna would be built, it was when. It was essential part. It was so a part of the life, and so every home that was part of it. And then I went on, and in undergrad I'm a big liberal arts guy. I studied philosophy, theology. I'm like thinking about how to think and solve problems and think critically and communicate. So that's my training. And I went in and I spent a lot of years in higher education. I was teaching and helping be a college administrator and running higher education. And that was great at the time. I love people. And it was a developmental way to say, hey, I want to be in people's lives where the trajectory is sort of deciding.
Yeah.
And how can I get people on the right path? And there were some years there. Then I ran a national nonprofit for like 5 years. I was kind of coming to the end of the time in higher ed, and I got asked, hey, would you come help run this with us? And I said, of course. That sounds great. I want to learn with the leader that was running that.
Yeah.
It was a faith-based nonprofit, and it was deeply sort of entrepreneurial. So as I look back, I started to realize, whoa, all of that time was preparing me to launch something. And I spent 2 years of that time basically in discernment mode. I was asking, what am I going to give the next few decades of my life to? And I knew I had some commitments. I was like, I love my wife, Gretchen. I want to be in her. I want to be a great husband. I want to do this thing for the long haul. We had a little one and one on the way. And I was like, I really like this dad thing. I want to be a great dad. And out of those 2 years, a third one came and bubbled up. And it was, I love Duluth, Minnesota, like you love Utah. I love this place and I want to be a part of this place. Yeah. And I want to help it flourish and grow. And I kept looking at business as the vehicle to do that the most impactfully. I was like, we can create jobs here. We can do this in a way that matters here. And good business should solve a problem for people. And I just watched stressed out people continuously all the time, every single day. And I said, you know what, sauna, that idea, that is the thing that helps me with stress no matter what.
Wow.
Tried and true. I never walk out of the sauna more stressed than I walked
100%.
in. Never in my life.
Yeah.
And I've sauned thousands of times, tens of thousands of times since I was a little kid. And so I said, well, let's do that. That's the business. But I started talking about it like it was real. And my wife pulled me aside one day. She's like, honey, I need to see some numbers. I need to know this thing is real if you're going to go quit your day job and
go do it
and do a business. And so, wrote the 47-page business plan, worked on it, self-funded it, a little bit of family help. Grandpa Rod, who has had the sauna in his life for 55 years, introduced me to it. All that, had some people believe in me because I did the homework.
So great.
The crazy part, Casey, was the fact that we opened the doors to the first part of that business 6 weeks before the pandemic flipped the world upside down.
I didn't realize it's that new of a business.
It is. Yeah. So I've been doing it for a long time, but to open it to the public.
Yeah. To do it commercially.
Yeah. We're 5 years.
Yeah.
And in those 5 years, we've gone from, weathering a pandemic to opening up multiple business lines, to being at a point today where, we're trying to solve the scale problems.
Yeah.
We don't want to just be artisans serving a couple dozen people. We want to, and that's a great business. If it's just you and a couple people in a shop, we have 51 people on staff now.
Team. Yeah.
We got a team, and we're building this thing to scale.
Yeah.
That looks like, to kind of unpack that, we've created this flywheel of business lines. We've talked a lot today about our custom construction line. We're building beautiful things. We also run a number of commercial spaces that we host people at. People
So
are coming
great.
back to. So it's a service-based business.
Yeah.
It's a wellness business.
Yeah.
We sell all the bits and parts as a retail and e-commerce business.
Amazing.
From the essential oils to the sauna heater, if you're going to build one. And then we do a lot of commercial work. So this whole other thing of
so cool
hotels, wellness facilities, businesses centered around this, where we're going to coach, consult, design, and build commercial spaces.
Yeah.
On up to the flow house space that's 50 people in a big 2,500 square foot facility.
Yep.
To building ones in New York City later this spring for 80 plus people that are going to be in there. So those lines of business need architects, designers, experts, service-based hospitality people. And all of that is a flywheel around this growing market of sauna and cold plunge.
Tony Robbins, he talks about this concept that business is a spiritual game. And it's fun to hear you talk about your business, because it, doesn't sound like dollars and cents. It sounds like it's a spiritual game. It's people that you love and care about. It attracts, the artisans and the people that are also passionate about being a part of this, and I love kind of these cult businesses, or like these businesses that like people just feel like I am a part of something special. Like, this is my brand, like get a lot of identity off of, what you're a part of, and I think ultimately those are the brands that you're attracted to, are the ones that just have soul,
Totally.
And yeah, it is. It's fun. Fun to watch you guys build, because it feels like you guys have soul. It feels like you have something special,
Those words are so true for me in this, because getting into it was a spiritual practice. Those 2 years of building the business plan wasn't just spreadsheets and numbers, though it was part of that.
It's dreaming.
It was dreaming and vision and discernment, and truly asking God, what am I assigned to do?
Yeah.
And I came back. I had a first run at it, and if you're watching the podcast, you're going to be able to see me do the hand motions. If you're listening, I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. I walked with the initial vision of the business, and I sort of went to God, kind of like Oliver Twist. Please, sir, can I have some more? Like I came to him with an idea of like, I want to do a business that is here in Duluth, that's caring for people, that's a little sauna business here that's going to host some people. And I thought it was too generous to ask for that. I think there's a lot of people
that are scared,
and they think they can't ask for what they're designed for.
Yeah.
And if you're listening, I think you're built for something.
Yeah.
And I think it is your requirement as a human to go discover what you're built for, and then to go do it.
I'm listening to this book right now. Have you ever read The Alchemist?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I've read it a couple times. I'm doing this kick this year where I'm doing 52 books in 52 weeks. And instead of going and reading all new books, I'm just reading my favorite books I've ever read.
Yeah, the classics and the ones you want to come back to.
And The Alchemist is one of those. And I'm, the whole story of The Alchemist is this kid that's a shepherd that goes on this journey and sells his sheep to go see the pyramids and like go find, they call it your legend, your life's journey and the hardships that open doors to the next thing. And it's, it's a fun book that basically says that life is conspiring for your good. And that when you set out and do the thing that you fear, that life and the universe will come together to like deliver to you what you need to go, and it's, anyway, I'm listening to that, thinking about this prayer that you have of saying like, this is what I want to go do. And there's fear, that just like the shepherd that has never been out of the city. It's like, I'm going to go sell my sheep and get on that boat.
Yeah.
Go to a faraway land with people that speak a different language. And
so I think the lie that people think, and that I believed, was I didn't deserve that. I didn't deserve the ability to ask that.
Which is like such a like sad paradigm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and self-limiting.
Yep.
You think if you never overcame that and you carry that through all your days,
Totally.
that's a way smaller life that you go live strictly out of just that.
Yep.
paradigm or that
Completely.
worldview. Yeah.
Completely. Now, the wild part, Casey, for me came right after. It was the thing that happened next. When I brought that to God and I said, this is the most generous thing I could ever think of. And I had my hands tight. I heard a thing from God that I've never heard something more clearly from the divine. And it was God came back to me and he said, yeah, that's great. You can have that. But the assignment is this. Arms wide open, arms stretched out. The business I'm assigning you looks more like this than these small clenched hands. And I wept. And I looked back and I said, well, if you're signed, I felt like I got a download of decades worth of business.
How sick is that?
Right? Like the vision was here and the assignment was arms wide open. I said, oh, okay. Well, if that's the assignment, then we could build a business that looks like this. That goes for, we could, serve thousands of people. We could create hundreds of jobs. We could create impact all over.
Wow.
And now, in the past 5 years, I look back every 3, 4, 6 months, and I ask that same question. God, are you really this generous? That we're getting to send saunas literally coast to coast. We're building floating saunas, popping them in the Duluth and Seattle harbors. We're helping dear friends launch businesses in Utah and New York. And so when you kind of ask the scale question, we can get into numbers and stuff too. To me, the spiritual act is the motivating act.
Yeah.
And it's also the I can't think small because the universe or God gave me an assignment that's a little bit bigger. And if I don't do it, I
think about my personal life.
Mm-hmm.
And baseball and football were these two sports.
Yeah.
That my dad played baseball and football, wanted to be like my dad, played them since I was young. And there were these key parts of my life. Like when I think of 8 years old to 18 years old.
Yeah, it's the formative moments.
Core memories. Yeah. Like some of the best memories with people playing, fighting, all those things. And then I fast forward to different stages in my life. I remember getting into CrossFit.
Mm-hmm.
And it just became this special part of my life for a decade. Community, pushing your body. And over the last 5 years, there's been 4 or 5 habits that I'd never done before. That as I integrated these in, they became really special parts of my life. Cycling, learning how to cook in the Traeger, golf.
Uh-huh.
But I think about that experience of sauna and cold plunge, and they become really important parts of my life, tremendous happiness.
Yeah.
And I think when I'm going through the ingredients of all those experiences and why I loved them so much, you take the physical aspect, physical sacrifice, sweating, working, consistency, the consistency where you get to experience it, over time. You take the social dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
All of those have tremendous social aspects.
Yeah. When you're on the baseball team.
You're on the baseball team. Yep. You're playing golf with your buddies, cooking. And Traeger is kind of I had Jeremy Andrus, who's the CEO of Traeger. And that company absolutely has soul. Anybody that likes to cook, it's a spiritual experience, the prep of the meats and the vegetables and the time and the smoke and the craftsmanship and, it. And so it's so fun that is your business. And then you take the other aspect of you've got people that their livelihoods are built off of being a part of that. And so I think that aspect of creating value for people and having a culture and a, structure that people can go love what they do every day is got to be so fulfilling for you in a short amount of time. 5 years isn't a long time.
No. And it's fulfilling. And it's also, I think sometimes people mess up this definition of passion. They think it's just the thing you love and it's fun.
Yeah.
And the real etymology of passion is pain. when you hear the Passion of the Christ, it's talking about the pain he went through. So to find your passion project or the thing that you're committed to and you love, how much pain are you willing to endure for that assignment, that commitment? And so I love it. And it's like parenting. It's the most fun and the hardest thing at the same time to build the business and to build it right. But I wouldn't want to do it any other way. I want to care for the people so that the whole people believe in the vision, not just because of a shiny Instagram post and saying, oh, that's the new thing.
Yeah.
But because they believe in the story of the people that are doing it in the product. Right.
Yep.
And I think that's what Traeger's done, is it's connected the dots of humans cooking a product that works. And it says, yeah, you can have that. Let's create that in your life.
Social, the gathering, bringing people together, the time.
Yep.
Like you just can't fake time.
Completely.
And I think the other element to all these is like it's stretched out over a physical amount of time.
Yeah.
And I think that experience with sauna, done right with friends, you're an hour and a half, you're to it. Like it's not a rushed experience. It's a very slow, enjoyable experience. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And
there's probably not a phone screen anywhere near you.
Yeah. Which is like so important in 2025.
Yeah.
I think in 2000 or 1990.
Yeah.
Less important. That just like wasn't even a factor. And there was a lot of activities that you didn't have a phone.
Yeah.
Today it's in everything. And like same thing when I go through addictive personality, when I'm not at my best, I'm checking Wall Street Journal every other minute. I'm checking my stocks. I'm checking Instagram and most of it is just dopamine hits.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm absolutely addicted to this thing.
Yep.
And then when I put it away, there's a detox or there's like a winding down or a slowing down and a more being present, which I just am obsessed with right now. So
you're getting a good physical and digital detox.
100%.
All in one.
Yep.
And I think that commitment of doing that and creating space for that, it is, I want to be careful because I know I'm selling the product, but like, I think it's truly life-changing, and I, for a lot of time, being somebody who can sell, you're a great salesperson, right? Like there's a weight of responsibility because you want to lead people in a direction that's good for them.
You just have to believe.
But there's a superpower that you could mislead them every day too.
Yeah.
And so when I was building the business and as we keep building, it's like, I need to believe in this thing just as much, if not more, than anybody else who's buying it.
100%. Yep.
And so let's do it right. Let's do it in a way that impacts them.
But I think that's the thing that fires me up about great brands.
Hmm.
Because great brands have a commitment to quality and craftsmanship that's just different. Like the brands that I am drawn to, they care a lot about design. They care a lot about quality, about craftsmanship, about excellence. And you look at like the brands that carry the highest premium in the world, all those elements are there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so it's like to do something cheap or to do something halfway, you can feel it. And the opposite's true. When like you feel that somebody put their heart and their soul into the product that they built, you appreciate it more. You know what I mean? And so it's, those are all the elements. It's fun for me to chat with you on this stuff. The original idea of the podcast was just excellence. And it's saying, how do we go pursue and study and document excellence? And I think that was the reason why I wanted you on today. It's like, there's a difference between hearing somebody's story of a business that they built, that it worked out, they sold it, made a bunch of money. And I don't know if that's in the cards for you in the future. I don't know if your intention is to go build something to sell it, but you're in the early days of building it, but you're building something that's beautiful and that like affects lives. It's got to be so fun. You know what I mean? Like the delivery aspect and the experience aspect. It's not something that somebody buys and then never touches again. Like if you invest that type of money, you're usually you're an enthusiast or you're Yeah.
Yeah. My hope would be that as we keep growing, that commitment to craft and quality never goes away. It's in our company values. World-class quality is what we are attaining for. And so to hear you say, hey, I see the excellence thing, it's always good to hear people like repeat back the values that you're trying to instill in the company.
Yep.
Repeat back the vision. It's amazing when your staff starts joking about the vision because you know they got it then because they can joke about it.
Yeah.
And for us, it's that commitment to...
I went to there's one of the local athletic teams.
Yeah.
And went and sat down with the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
This was earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about raising capital and being competitive. And they pulled out this mission statement that was built a couple years ago. It was like a, really incredibly smart private equity person got this assignment to go build a mission statement that was kind of an important mission statement for an important local institution. And he crushed it.
Yeah.
And he puts it up there on the board. And it's amazing that he did it 2 or 3 years ago because it's even more relevant today. No one's looked at it in 3 years.
Right.
And it's this element of it was built by somebody, but the people that have to implement the mission and the vision and the values weren't the ones who built it and aren't committed to it.
Yeah.
And so you take like this, like the coach was like, this is the solution. This is what we need to talk about all the time. But there was a disconnect between the structure of the organization and the mission and the vision. And I think about that when you're describing your own culture, and it truly is, you have to talk about it all day, every day. Like culture is who you are and what you do. Like it's not what you say.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what we do as a company. So,
I mean, I'd go one step further. For us, it's also we have to practice what we preach.
Yep.
Right? Like we are trying to build it into the business in as many ways as possible.
Yep.
We give our sauna guides and carpenters access to use the products, to bring their families.
That's so cool.
Right? So like every week there's a sauna at our design studio, which is super awesome and beautiful, and we're making cool things out of it. And tucked in the woods in the backyard, hidden away, is this off-grid sauna that multiple times a week somebody's up there stoking the wood stove so it's ready after work. How fun is it
How fun is that?
Hang out with your coworkers, do hard work all day, be proud of what you've seen built, and then at the end of the day go out and spend an hour or so.
The wood one is just different. Like the wood one is
it's
like
romantic.
It truly is.
Uh-huh.
Like the electric one is so amazing.
Convenient.
Because you
so
can
great.
Like turn it on an hour before. You can set up the controls so that like mine, it starts heating at 4 a.m.
Yeah. So when you want to go in there early in the morning,
and it's cooking.
It's ready.
Yeah, it's ready.
Yeah.
But the wood is like it's a more like romantic, spiritual, intimate experience. It's pretty cool.
There's days where you want to cook on the Traeger.
Yeah.
And you want to do that, right? And those bites are going to be so good because you made it. There are also days you want to go to the steakhouse and the restaurant. You want to order off the menu, and that chef's going to make you a hell of a steak. And I think that's the electric sauna is.
Yeah.
It's doing the work for you a little bit. Still great. Still get to enjoy it. But if you're off grid, if you have more time, I mean, you're not in a point in your life with little kids growing business where time is the biggest limiter.
Yeah.
I see it when people have the second property, when they're going to the cabin, they're going to the lake, the cottage, or they're at a point in their life where they're forcing themselves to slow down. They want to build the fire. They want to go chop wood. They want to go make kindling. They want to start the fire. They want to smell the wood being burned.
The idea
then they
of
want to
chopping wood and building the fire is like, I wish that was my life every day. It's not, and don't think it will be for a long time, but there is just something magic and like romantic and of the slowness and just stopping and, not having things pressing on you.
So I want to ask you, Casey, what you've seen this in your life now. Where do you want it to continue for your family? We're actually talking about this months in. That's not that long.
Yeah.
This has been it's really
But
great.
so like I kind of got into this. I actually bought one during the pandemic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I went cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And cheap is relative. I think I spent 12 to 15 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just crap.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't a great experience. So I ended up not using it and selling it. But then the commercialization of this has just kind of taken off. So there's a bunch of really great local places that have a commercial setup, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Like absolutely loved it. Even before we got started and did the one with you guys. But the problem I ran into is like, it's not yours and the schedule's not yours, and you got to book and you got to plan in advance, and the intimacy and like doing it alone or doing it with so much of it for me, I get really selfish with my time because I just don't have very much of it.
Yeah.
So I'm hesitant to open it up too much because those moments are like really important to me, to gather my head, to get collected, to get clear on the day. And so was kind of doing it. And so like where it goes, I don't know, but like when I think about 2025 and when I think about this idea of compounding and this idea of like, you've got your intellect and your knowledge, and how do I invest in that daily forever? Then you've got your body, and how do I put in the work daily forever to go live the, best life I can live? And then you think about your relationship with your spouse or your kids, and it's like, how do I make those little deposits every day? And then your finances and your career, and having that long-term approach. And I see this as like just a part of the long-term approach. You know what I mean? It's like, what are the things? I remember I went to Harvard and did this program. It's called Owners, Presidents, Managers. Incredible program. If you get a chance, like if you have any desire to go do it, it'd be perfect for somebody like you that's building a business. It's all entrepreneurs. It's a 3-year program. So you go for 3 weeks a year for 3 years.
Great.
And the last time I went out, there was this professor, and he gets up and he just asked this question. He says, "Are you happy?" And about a third of the class said that they were unhappy. About a third that said they were, pretty happy. And then there was a third of the class that said, I'm really happy in life right now. And then he asked a follow-up question. He said, like, are there things that you do that make you happy? And everybody had those. And he had you go list, what are the things that you do on a daily, on a weekly, on a monthly basis that make you happy? And it's making love with your wife. It's working out. It's golfing. It's whatever it is, playing with your kids. Like, what makes you happy? Eating ice cream, whatever it is. And you make this list. And then he just kind of posed a challenge. He said, if you know that these things make you happy, can you do more of them on a daily and weekly and monthly basis? And the simplicity of it, I don't know why it hit me so hard, but I had this list of 20, 30, 40 things that I said 100% when I do these create happiness. I love this. And then that idea of like, I just need to schedule more of this because, this makes me happy. And if I'm doing more of it, I'm going to be happier more of the time. And I'd put sauna like right in that category of like, when I do this, I carry better energy internally and externally. Like people experience me different when I'm grounded and when I've kind of got myself together and I'm ready for the day. Anyway, so it fires me up when I think about long-term. It's, having that in my life long-term. I think habits are so important.
Yeah.
And stacking these superpower habits. And
yeah, it's James Clear's Atomic Habit stuff. You can
1000%.
partner them and stack them together and they make you happy.
But when you take those two things of like, this is actually making me live longer and adds incredible quality of life on a daily basis, Like, if I could do it every day for the rest of my life, I'm way happier man than not.
I want to hit a couple science points for you because I know you're interested in that, and I think it's worth saying as we talk about longevity here, because it's this long tail conversation. It isn't, and I love good ice cream, but ice cream makes you happy in the moment.
Yeah.
It's what are those things that carry on, and as you get older are harder to do. Sauna is this practice that you can do even when in your 60s, 70s, 80s, it's going to become harder to move your body. And it is also going to make your body ache less.
No, so
right?
my father-in-law that just kind of got done with cancer, and my mother-in-law had never done it consistently. And I do think that there's like a revolution going on in America. Like I absolutely think that like in 2025, this idea or this concept has never been more popular than right now, but these guys have never been in it. And over the last 2 or 3 years, they've got into it. And I've got my mother-in-law that's doing the sauna and cold plunging every day.
Yep.
And she dealt with, arthritis, and she had aches and pains, and whether it's the hot or the cold, one of the two, she doesn't feel those anymore. So whether it's the cold that's like decreasing inflammation, whether it's the circulation, whatever it is. And so we go down to Houston yesterday, and my wife wakes up and goes and works out for a couple hours with her mom, and then she's doing the cold plunge in the sauna at Lifetime. And you're like, that's pretty cool that, she's in her 60s and is getting as much joy out of it as I am, or my wife, So it's really cool.
And if you go to Europe, that would be so normal.
Just normal, just kind of every day.
You'd see old ladies getting up in the morning and walking down to the harbor and wild swimming in the middle of winter in the cold water. And then they'd walk to the sort of community-led sauna on the harbor side, right? And
How cool is that?
So we're taking some of these ideas that are tried and true in culture, and we're saying, hey, America, there's a chance that we've missed this.
Yeah.
We need to make sure.
But even you take like that idea of like Western, the idea of like Western culture.
Yeah.
Is the hustle and the bustle. It's working 70 hours a week.
Yep.
It's capitalism. And like to my core, I love that stuff. I love the American dream. I love getting ahead. I love, working harder than everybody else. But then there's like this beauty, kind of this Eastern beauty of like slow down and like experience life and be present. And anyway, so it's kind of coupling the two, and Europe does. It captures a lot of it.
Yep. And if we can harness the ambition, right? I mentioned Grandpa Bill, who died of the heart attack.
Yep.
I know I have his ambition. I know I am more likely to work myself to death and become a workaholic than I am to be lazy.
Yeah.
But if I can do a thing like Grandpa Rod and be content and slow and take care of myself and my family, I actually have the chance to do it for longer.
Yeah.
Because the American dream will burn you out and spit you out.
For sure.
Right? But you look at some of these people who have gone for decades.
It's this principle of sharpening the saw. Like you have to have systems and processes that allow you to reset.
Yep.
And it's not that like, I think hard work is like the equalizer to success in everything. But you have to have those rest periods. You take like the Bible, and it's you work for 6 and you rest for 1. I think working for 6 is important.
Yep.
Like I think resting for 6 and working for 1 is the wrong recipe.
Yep.
I think working for 6 and resting for 1 is the right recipe. Like you grow so much in the work and in the struggle. No, it's fascinating. This is so fun for me. I'm so excited for your business. We're so grateful that you kind of followed your heart and your passion, and we're experiencing it, and we'll go today and we'll go watch BYU try to get a win. And then we got friends and we're going to go hit it up, and it's just turning into a part of the cultural experience with our house and, friends. And it's just like another way to celebrate in a, something that everybody likes. I don't know anybody that's like, I don't like that. I'll just sit this one out. Like everybody enjoys it. So it's fun. So thanks for building a great company that we get to participate in.
Yeah, it's truly an honor, and it's getting to sit here on the podcast and to be a part of, the ways in which you care about excellence in your family as a husband, as a dad. I say this a lot, is like, sauna draws people who are the real ones and the grounded ones.
Yeah.
Like, we work with a lot of folks who are just amazing humans to be around.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that makes me happy. When you said, hey, what are those things? It's like, I love people. It's why I worked in higher education. It's why I'm committed to a company that sort of is about human flourishing and care.
Yep.
And getting to sit across from you and talk shop and hear, hey, this has impacted my family in really meaningful ways.
Yep.
That makes me get up in the morning and want to do it again for, the next 100, the next 1,000 people who are going to be a part of it.
Well, brother, thanks for coming and visiting me from Minnesota, and can't wait to see kind of what projects you go do next. Like right now, I'm just watching it, this New York project and like these mobile saunas in the river, and like all of those are just so fun for me. Like we're looking to put like a trip together where you go to Sweden or you go to Finland, and you go, and it's all about just those experiences,
Casey, I'm your tour guide, man. I know all the spots. We'll plan the trip.
That to me sounds like the best trip ever.
Circle tour through Scandinavia together.
My gosh, how good would that
Let's go. Yeah. Invite the friends. That you heard it here on Case Studies. That's going to be happening. You'll get the link soon.
I love it. Sounds good, brother. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Casey.
This podcast is brought to you by Sandlot